What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Christories. I am your host, Chris Distefano, aka Christories Distefano, and this is Christories. Hashtag Christories. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Korean War. We're talking North Korea and South Korea, commies, aka communists, and how the U.S. got involved in what we called the Forgotten War. We forgot because we lost, or as Koreans would say, we lost. Sorry. Started it off with a hack attack. Sorry, I bet you didn't know. See, we're going to tell you all about how Korea used to be united, but now they're divided because we got involved. Divide and conquer. Okay, so what was happening in the world that led to the Korean War? So let's take you back. It's the early 1940s. World War II is coming to an end. The country Korea was a whole, okay? They were one. Everyone was doing the same taekwondo, eating the same beef. It was just one nice united piece of kimchi. I love Koreans. Kimchi is good for your gut, by the way. Eat kimchi. It wasn't divided into North Korea and South Korea just yet. Now, as you know from an earlier Christories episode about the Nanjing Massacre, aka the rape of Nanking, the Japanese in World War II were not good people, okay? I'm not saying they deserve to get nuked, but don't think that they were the good guys in World War II. They were being very, very bad. They were all about manifest destination. They were trying to get more land for themselves, and they were being greedy little fuckers. As I've told you before, white people were not the worst. I'm not saying we're great, but there's other people who are as bad, maybe worse. Listen, white people are not the worst. As I've said before on an earlier Christories episode, I know we do bad things, but so do the Japanese. So yell at them too sometimes. One of the places that the Japanese occupied was, of course, Korea. Japanese colonial rule was alive and well in Korea, okay? Yes, the Japanese were enslaving Koreans, okay? You had a little Asian on Asian crime. The Japanese were not about stopping the Asian hate in Korea in the 1940s, and that is not okay. As the war was coming to an end, the Soviet Union and the USA, who are normally enemies, okay, don't listen, I'm not a communist, okay? I'm saying Russia, yes, Soviet Union is the enemy, okay? I'm not Christy the communist, but I'm just saying in the 1940s, we were on the same side because we were trying to take down the Nazis. So we were allies during World War II, and we came together during the Tehran Conference, which is in Iran, who is also the enemy, FYI. But not really. Iranian women, shout out, I love Iranian women. You look like Puerto Ricans, but without the craziness. You're the bomb. The United States and the Soviet Union, we came together in the Tehran Conference to defeat Hitler and Japan, which we did. Look it up. So, and what happened was FDR, the leader of the United States, and Stalin, the leader of Soviet Union, agreed on the principle of stripping Japan of all its colonial possessions in Asia, including Korea. We're taking it back. You can't have that anymore. Because we both recognize, the United States and Russia both recognize Korea's strategic importance. And we said, you know what? We need Korea for ourselves. And we're going to divide it into little occupation zones. Just same thing we did with Germany. We're going to divide Korea up. And this is where the beginnings of North Korea and South Korea start to come about, and this little war. A lot of the things you got to understand, the United States and Russia, the two big powers that be, we're probably never going to go to a war, us versus them. It's all these little proxy wars, which is beginning here. You have, of course, the North being backed by the Russians and the South being backed by the United States. This little proxy war is beginning right here after the Tehran Conference. So the war is over. We win. Yas, girl, yas. February 1945, we have the Yalta Conference, and this is where we have Franklin D. Roosevelt, President of the U.S., the guy that dropped the atom bomb twice. That's what happened. Well, actually, he didn't. He died. Harry Truman dropped the atom bomb twice, but it was FDR's ghost invaded Harry Truman's body, and then he dropped the atom bomb twice. We got Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and of course, Joseph Stalin, the Prime Minister, Premier of the Soviet Union, who was pro-communism. So we have them all at this Yalta Conference after World War II was won. They discussed the post-war reorganization of Europe and Asia, as well as the establishment of the United Nations, which still stands today right on the east side of Manhattan. The United Nations, some people like it, some people hate it. I'm somewhere in the middle. So the Soviet Union, what their idea was, they said, we're going to have 3 occupation zones: a Soviet Union in the north, American zone in the south, and an international trusteeship with the capital Seoul. Seoul. This is what we call it. Seoul man. I'm a Seoul man. So that's what the Soviet Union proposed, but that did not happen. Ultimately, they divided Korea exactly in half, okay, which was geographically convenient. It was called the 38th parallel. Okay, and if you look at the globe, they literally have parallels, and they just took the 38th one where the 38th parallel goes through, and they cut it like geographically in half. Just a perfect cut. They just sliced it right in half. So they sliced it right in half, which still stands today. That's why you still have North Korea and South Korea, and there's a lot of problemas, which we're going to get to. So Korea had 2 separate occupation zones that reflected their beliefs and strategic interests in the region. North was communist, supported by the Soviet Union. South was a capitalist government. Over time, this led to what still stands today is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which is North Korea, and the Republic of Korea, which is South Korea. This was meant to be temporary. Okay, this was not supposed to still be here like this, but guess what? That's not what happens, okay? Just like the toll on the Verrazano Bridge in Staten Island when they built the bridge, they said, we're only going to charge you $20 each way once we recoup the construction cost of the bridge. Well, that was the 1960s, and I'm still getting charged. But here's the thing with Staten Island. If you fly over that bridge and you're waving the American flag, which I do proudly, the toll's free, because Staten Island supports freedom. So the Soviet troops, they actually withdrew from Korea in 1948, the year my dad was born, and also the year Babe Ruth died. Just a little fun fact. And the U.S. troops left in 1949. So peace out. We both left. Soviet Union left, United States left, right? So what happened was they left their principles behind. The Soviet Union left their little principles behind, and the United States left their principles behind. We both left and crop dusted our little ideas. And so it started to infect the minds of the North and the South. North and South Korea had tensions, and they did not accept the border between them as permanent, okay? There was nothing. We tried everything we could. We even opened up an Arirang right in the middle and to try to broker the peace, and it didn't work. They killed him. So Kim Tu-sung, is it Kim Il-sung? How do you say? Kim Tu-il-sung. I don't know how to say that in Korean. I don't know also that he's related to Kim Jong-un. I don't know if he's in the same family lineage, but here on the Christories Distefano show, we stand by it. We have an opinion and we stand by it, whether it's right or wrong. Tell us in the comments if we're right or wrong, okay? Kim Tu-sung or Kim Il-sung, the leader of North Korea, saw South Korea was vulnerable to invasion. And with the help of the Soviet Union and China, he attacked South Korea on June 25th, 1950. About 75,000 troops defeated the Republic of Korea's army, the South Korean army, and captured the capital city of Seoul. The only part that wasn't invaded was a small part in the south called Busan, okay? And I know what you guys are thinking. Is it because they were a bunch of Pusans? No, it wasn't. President Truman started to bug out because he did not want the spread of communism to act like a domino effect, and then all of a sudden, everyone's communist. So he was getting nervous. He was like, I might just drop a nuke on China. He said that. Here's the thing. I want us to go out and drink responsibly, and I want us to have a better tomorrow. Here's how we're going to do it. Z-Biotics, pre-alcoholic probiotic, folks. Your first drink of the night for a better tomorrow. Engineered by a team of PhD microbiologists, so you know this shit works. Z-Biotics is a probiotic drink that breaks down the byproduct of alcohol, which is responsible for rough mornings after drinking. Here's all you have to do. You ready for this? Listen to me right now, especially if you're about to go out and drink. Step 1, have a Z-Biotics. For best results, make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. So drink that puppy first. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day, okay? Z-Biotics, it is a game-changing product. Use it before a night out with drinks. It is called Z-Biotics. I don't know why, but I like the name. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, you don't bounce back the next day like you used to. You got to make a choice. Either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics, because now I can have a great night and a great next day, because Z-Biotics is just getting all that excess alcohol that's going to hurt me. The next day, it's getting right out of my system. It produces an enzyme to break up a byproduct that causes dehydration. That's to blame for your rough next day. So that's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into that toxic byproduct in the gut. Z-Biotics breaks up this byproduct, doesn't cause the dehydration, and then you are feeling good, okay? So right now, go to zbiotics.com/Christories. That's zbiotics.com/Christories. CHRISTORIES to get 15% off your first order when you use Christories at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund you your money. No questions asked. I love a company that does that. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Christories. Use the code Christories at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and for good times. So the United Nations was brand new, and they had formed because, post-World War II, they had the League of Nations, which just sucked. So what is the United Nations? For people that don't know, it is an international organization founded in 1945, and it aims to maintain international peace and security, promote cooperation and friendly relations among nations, and address global changes such as poverty, disease, and environmental degradation. They've done a good job. So South Korea basically wanted the help from the United Nations, okay? Like that, of course they wanted that, but it was ultimately ignored by North Korea. Duh. And as a result, approval for a UN army was granted to fight back. So the UN army now is coming in to help South Korea. It was made up of 16 nations, U.S. being the main contributor. Other major ones, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Turkey, France, Netherlands, and New Zealand. Douglas MacArthur actually led these troops, and this is what's going into, as Americans know, as the Korean War, which some of your dads, granddads may have fought in. I believe my uncle fought in the Korean War. I believe he did. I'm not sure. Or he just beat up Korean people in his neighborhood. I don't know. So in July of 1950, UN troops, really U.S. troops, came to South Korea ready to fight. They started off by forming a perimeter around Busan, that most southern region that was not taken over by the North Koreans, until more reinforcements came in August. When General MacArthur felt secured on September 15, 1950, the U.S. Marines launched an assault on Incheon. Incheon, that's how you say it in Korean. North Korean troops were pushed back and retreated over the 28th parallel. Remember, the 38th parallel was the dividing line, so we pushed them all the way back to the 28th parallel, and they got back Seoul. The UN troops, led by the United States, we got back Seoul, and we haven't lost it since. By October, they won back all of South Korea, and South Korea still to this day has never been taken back over by the North Koreans, because the United States, we just do not fuck around, okay? We just don't. Do you like Korean food? Who doesn't? I love it. I love the steak. I love everything Koreans have to do. I love their food. I love their baseball. I love their movies. I mean, everything about Korean people I love. I love their haircuts. Chrissy K-pop. Listen, here's the thing. We fear China the most, right? That the United States fears China. I think China probably fears us. It's not the governments do. I love Chinese people. Shout out Chinese people. I love it. And I'm just hoping that even in the war that we may potentially go in with China in present day, I hope it has a happy ending. I love a Chinese happy ending. So here's what happened. So Truman feared China was going to respond and go crazy. So we got the green light from the UN. This is in 1950, October 7th, 1950. The UN troops moved in to North Korea. And 5 days later, we captured the North Korea capital of Pyongyang. Pyongyang was at the Yalu River, which bordered communist China. Okay, so that's the thing too. Geography is destiny. I've said that before. And North Korea is just closer to China. That's the truth. They're just closer to China. And South Korea is just closer to the United States. Not by much, but it is. And Truman was right. China came through with 250,000 Chinese troops. So one apartment building of Chinese people came in at 250,000. That's a lot of Yeezys. And the UN troops, again, really the United States, couldn't take it, and we got pushed all the way back into South Korea because the Chinese, they come with numbers. The Chinese bring numbers. And by January 1951, Chinese and North Korean troops recaptured Seoul. So we had Seoul, we lost Seoul, now we have Seoul again. But at this point in this Christories episode, it's January of 1951, and we have lost Seoul yet again because the Chinese came with 250,000. So General MacArthur, this guy wanted to use an atom bomb on China. But remember, we had just used 2 on Japan in August of 1945. But Truman, you know, he said, no, we're back on this policy of containment. And he fired MacArthur for the suggestion. Okay. So I know we dropped 2 and that sucks, but at least he was like, you know what, we're not going to do this again, because he saw the devastation. Even though the Japanese were being very, very bad, you killed a lot of innocent people, kids, no bueno. We don't like that. So we're not going to drop an atom bomb on China, not going to do it. And also China's so big and there's so many people, so it's like, it's not going to work. So in this war, I mean, all these people, this is becoming like a big war now. I mean, how many wars are we going to fight as humans here? I mean, war, it's so stupid. It's usually the egos of 1 or 2 men. All these people got to die. But it's June 1951. My dad's about 3 years old. More UN troops are being sent to Korea. How did we get these troops? Well, some of the troops contained people who were drafted, right? We had that draft. The draft or conscription for the Korean War took place during the war. We had a selective service system. It conducted lotteries to determine the order in which men would be called up for military service. If you were an 18 to 26-year-old biological male, you were getting called. Okay, so this was the time to have a pussy. I would have showed up to that draft tucked back and said, excuse me, sir, I'd like to join the war effort, but I want to be a woman. Here's how you could get out of the draft. If you didn't want to go taped back or claim that you were actually a female, you could say that you were the sole provider of your family, and you could claim moral or religious objections to war. You could say you were unfit to fight. People had flat feet. So you could say that so here's the thing. The truth is there's no way that I was going to be able to be drafted in that war, because not only would I go and tape back, I have the flattest feet you've ever seen. I am Case for Christ Chrissy. I'm Chrissy the Catholic, so I have a moral objection. And believe it or not, I am the sole provider of not only my family, but most of Jasmine's extended family. Okay, back to the war. So more troops got sent, and then we had a stalemate that started at the 38th parallel. July 1951, peace talks begin. But they couldn't find a compromise because people are greedy motherfuckers. During these talks, fighting continued in the air. U.S. pilots fought against Soviet pilots. They tricked the Soviets by using Chinese jets and wore Chinese uniforms. How about that? We dressed like the enemy for a little bit, and we used those Chinese jets and those Chinese uniforms, and we came flying in. Now, this war led to a significant loss of life and devastation, with estimates of casualties ranging from 2.5 to 4 million people died in Korea, including civilians. Okay, that sucks. By 1953, Truman was out of here, and we brought in General Dwight D. Eisenhower. He took over as the president, and he didn't care for this war, and he sought to end it because Eisenhower was a World War II actual general. See, this is the thing. Usually when guys who have fought in the war take over, they don't want any more war. Because as an elderly person told me once, they said, our generation, why we're so angry is because we've grown up in peace. Okay, but if you're a generation that grows up in war, you don't want war, you want peace. And the elderly person told me, your generation is growing up in peace, so you're begging for war. But once the war comes, you're going to be begging for peace, and then it will be too late. So stop it while you can. And then I said, don't talk to me, and I pushed him in front of a bus. So there were 2 years of negotiations on an armistice, which is, putting the guns down. And then finally, on July 27, 1953, at Panmunjom, on the 30th parallel, an armistice, which is the formal agreement between warring parties to stop fighting temporarily, was reached, okay? It stands to this day. We have that demilitarized zone, which is right in between North and South Korea, which actually was getting some action a couple of years ago. There was about to be, because what happens is in this demilitarized zone, people will try to get from North Korea, escape it into South Korea. And if they can make it through this little demilitarized zone and get to South Korea, they'll be good. But a lot of times the North Koreans just shoot people. If you get into that little area, they'll shoot you dead. The South Koreans won't. They'll welcome you with open arms. They'll walk right, you jump into a basket. But the North Koreans will kill you. Here's the thing, is I get it, how some people like communism and some people, I get it. I get both sides. But the truth is, most times, 9 times out of 10, it's people want to escape communist countries to come to democracy. And, so I just think, I don't know. I'm not like well-versed in it all, but it just feels like it's better here. Okay? Are you a little trans communist? You can't be. You want to be trans? Come here. So in closing, today, dialogue between North and South Korea have taken place sporadically over the years. We get little glimpses of hopes of progress, but then something moves back. So, we try, it's back and forth. Like Aaliyah said, back, forth, and forth. And it's not working. I don't know that we're getting any progress, but here's the thing. We got to just keep trying. Control what you can control. The Korean War was actually the first conflict of the Cold War, which I believe is still happening today. I still think we're in a little Cold War with Russia. Cold War, because that's what's going to happen. The Cold War, a hot war is bombs and guns, and we're in a Cold War with the Soviet Union because we're both nuclear powers. We have this mutually assured destruction. So I don't know that this Cold War ever goes away unless you dismantle all the nukes, but that's not going to happen. So the Korean War was really this first major conflict of the Cold War, which I believe is still going on today. No matter what, the United States hates communism. We just don't like it, and we will do anything to make sure it does not spread. Even if we have to fight under the United Nations, it doesn't matter. Communism is not going to get in us, okay? It's not going to get in us. Listen, shout out North Korea and South Korea. I really hope that one day you can come together again, okay? Because I want to try North Korean food. I really do. I've only ever had South Korean food and I've really ever had South Korean food, and make no mistake, it is delish, but I want to try North Korean food, so I need you guys to come together. I just got to see what it tastes like. What are you guys doing differently? You won't even let us in. I want to eat you, little hermit. This was Christories, and remember, yesterday was history.